Good morning, boys and girls. Today's project will be called The Circle of Life.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. As king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope.
Dad, don't we eat the antelope?
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. And so, we are all connected in the great circle of life.
Before we get started, we have one quick question, which is, what do we need to know about the circle of life? The answer is that we are all connected and that the circle of life is a food chain. Today, we will learn about food chains and how they are connected within their ecosystem by drawing one of our very own food chains. The first word we need to know is food chain, which is the order that living things depend on each other for food. Here we can find some examples of different types of food chains. There are carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. The next word we need to know is carnivore, which are animals that only eat meat. Here we have some examples of animals that only eat meat, such as lions, tigers, and polar bears. The next word is herbivore, which are animals that only eat plants. Here are some examples of herbivore animals, such as elephants, giraffes, and cows. The next word is omnivore, which are animals that eat both plants and meat. Here are some examples of omnivores, which are bears, monkeys, and raccoons. The next words we need to know is ecosystem, which is all living things that live in one area. Here are some examples of different types of ecosystems. We are going to watch a quick video and then we will continue on with our project.
Dear Tim and Moby, are plants always at the bottom of the food chain? From Dwog. In any given ecosystem, all living things are linked together by what they eat. Organisms depend on each other for nourishment to survive, and this joins them together in something called a food chain. In this one lake, there are many different food chains at work. Plant plankton are eaten by small animals, say shrimp. Shrimp are eaten by fish, which are eaten by even bigger fish until the bears that hang around the lake decide to go fishing. What would happen if we caught every last shrimp in the lake and had a big barbecue? Well, the fish that depend on the shrimp for food would go hungry, and the population would dwindle. And if there weren't any fish, then the bears would go hungry too. Disruptions in the food chain can work the other way too. If all the bears ran off to join the circus, the population of large fish that the bears normally eat would grow out of control. They'd get themselves into trouble by quickly eating all their food. Food chains aren't the whole story. They often combine to form complex food webs containing many interconnected and overlapping chains. A food web has three major elements: producers, consumers, and decomposers. Plants make up the bulk of the world's producers. They are able to make their own food using photosynthesis, a process that harnesses the energy of the sun. Producers are the largest part of any food web, and you can find them at the bottom of all food chains. Organisms that eat other living organisms are called consumers. They can't make their own nourishment from sunlight, so they get it by eating the producers. Humans are consumers, as well as birds and cows and millions of other species. Primary consumers eat the producers. Animals that eat plants are examples of primary consumers, and they're also called herbivores. Secondary consumers are the organisms that eat the primary consumers. These are carnivores, or meat eaters. Some animals, like humans, are called omnivores because they eat both meat and plants. There are other kinds of consumers too. Parasites are small organisms that live on the bodies of other organisms, using up the victim's energy. Scavengers eat the carcasses of other dead animals. Decomposers are mostly bacteria and fungi. Decomposers cause the mold that grows on your bread, but they also do all sorts of good stuff like breaking down dead animals and plants into reusable elements and recycling nutrients back into the food web. Humans have to be more careful to protect every species in the world. Just about every species on the planet, no matter how insignificant it seems, is vital to the food web. If even the smallest plant or animal becomes extinct, the consequences will ripple throughout the food web, causing environmental chaos for every species concerned, including us. It's hard to predict exactly what will happen, but one thing's for sure. I don't want to be around if that bear doesn't get his dinner.
Now we have a quick class discussion. We are going to ask questions in groups, such as, what kind of animals did you see in this video? What do we eat? Are we omnivores, carnivores, or herbivores? What types of animals may be their prey? Now we are going to work independently on these two worksheets. This is what we are going to make in today's lesson. As you can see, there are animals inside of the other animals, which represents their ecosystem and their food chain. Alright, let's get started.
Hi everyone, so today we're going to start by drawing the head of our animal, and in this case we're drawing an eagle. So I'm using basic shapes using a circle and more like an oval shape for the body. Now I want to draw more specific features on my eagle, like the talons, the beak, the eyes, and feathers. Because our eagle is a carnivore, we want to make sure that we draw the wolf inside because eagles eat wolves. So here our wolf is going to be using our basic shapes, circles, ovals, and then we're going to move on to more specific features the same way that we did with our eagle. So here I'm drawing more specific features, just like we did on our eagle, with eyes, ears, fur, nose, and finally legs. Wolves are carnivores, so we want to make sure that we add our rat inside of the wolf's body. Our rat is an omnivore. Omnivores eat both plants and animals, but here we're just ending our food chain with the rat. We're drawing a rat using the same process we did before, starting with basic shapes and ending with specific features. It's time to color. So first I'm starting with outlining my area of where I'm going to color, and this is just going to make it easier for me to stay inside the lines. Now we want to start coloring the inside of our animal. And to make things a little bit easier, we want to draw a circle around our animal so that we'll color everything outside and leave the inside blank. To make the coloring even easier, I'm starting to section off parts of the drawing and coloring inside those smaller shapes. This will help break up the coloring and just make it more fun. After coloring the inside of our body, now we want to begin by coloring all of the features. So here I'm outlining parts of the eagle, then coloring the beak, followed by the talons in yellow. Now here I am continuing to color the same way that we did for the eagle, but now repeating that same step for the wolf. Again, we want to make sure that we're outlining everything just to make it easier to color, and then followed by a circle around the rat so that we make sure that we leave the inside of that part white. For the inside of our rat, I'm just making sure to follow the same process that we did for the other two animals, making sure we color the full body this time since there will be no other animal or plant inside of the rat's body. Now that the inside of our food chain is finished, we want to make sure that we color in the background. So what we want to do is add in a couple objects from our ecosystem, about 3 to 4. Here I am drawing a rock, then followed by mountains in the background. Now I'm drawing in our third element, which are trees, because our eagle lives in a mountain range forest area as its ecosystem. Now I'm coloring the inside of my trees, and again we want to make sure that we leave that blank space inside of the animals so we can tell where the animals are supposed to end and start. Again, because we want to make coloring fun and easy, I'm sectioning off more parts of my rock. After finishing coloring up that, now I'm going to color up the biggest element in our area, which are the mountain ranges. And here I'm following the same process of coloring just as I was doing in my other areas. So I'm sectioning off little parts of the mountain and making sure to color them in bit by bit. So now the last part of our background is the sky, and we want to make sure that we color it blue because the sky is blue. And don't forget, we always want to sign our artwork, so make sure that you write your name on the back of your paper, just like I'm doing now. Now the drawing is all done. Thanks for learning about food chains and ecosystems with us.
Now that we are done with our art project, we are going to ask what we have learned in today's lesson. Our first question is, what is a food chain? The answer is that food chains consist of different types of animals and plants. Animals eat specific diets that connect them together in a food chain. The next question is, what are the 3 diets of animals? The first is a herbivore, which eats plants. The second is an omnivore, which eats both plants and meat. And the third is a carnivore, which only eats meat. The last question is, why is an ecosystem important? They are important because they help you live and make people's lives more enjoyable. Here are some other examples of art projects that have been done. That's all for today's project. Thanks for watching.